the UFC at a time when they need needle movers, a non-needle mover wants back in. Danny, how about this? Nate Diaz wants a UFC return, and he was specific. He wants to become a champion. He feels like there's something missing here, man.
Yeah, I don't know about the champion part. I don't see him beating any top 5 contender, really any top 10 contender, either at welterweight or lightweight. So yeah, we can forget about that. Maybe there's some room there for a BMF, but I don't even know. And at this point, honestly, and maybe you guys call me crazy, but I don't even know if I want to stomach an Nate Diaz fight in the UFC. Like, he looked not great against Tony Ferguson. He looked old. He looked slow. Now he's just older. Like, the level of competition has risen up. Also, like, a lot of these veterans like Tony Ferguson and others have retired or left the UFC. So there's not really a whole lot of opponents to pick from for him.
Nate versus Dustin in New Orleans. That wouldn't.
No, dude.
If
Dustin
the Max Holloway thing fell off,
Dustin would mop the floor. Dustin is still
no,
like
I'm just saying it wouldn't interest you.
No.
Wow.
No. The only fight that interests me at this point would be either maybe a Masvidal fight in MMA, of course, or maybe Conor McGregor. But like McGregor, who knows what the hell's happening with him? So like at this point, if it's any name outside of those two, I'm just not down to watch.
That surprised me. Are you excited, Nolan, about Nate Diaz throwing his name out there and I guess even saying what he said? I thought, I don't know. He's usually all about, forget. He just wants to get paid and he wants to fight. He doesn't even mention the belt. This time he mentioned the belt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like a select group of fighters that we talk about often that don't seem to fight often, that I very much, until there's a fight booked, I can't even really gauge my excitement. Like talking about Conor, talking about him, there's been others through the years, like when GSP kept teasing that he'd come back and then he didn't. There's a certain fatigue factor that comes with, talking about fights that never happened. I mean, how long have we been talking about the trilogy with McGregor, right? And still not booked. So there's always a little inherent level of excitement seeing Nate compete. But at the same time, like Danny said, I mean, he's almost 40 years old. By the time, say, the UFC booked him tomorrow, we'd probably be looking at 3 years between UFC fights for him, between MMA competition for him. So it's a little bit difficult for me to get up and say, hey, this guy, should be fighting for a belt or anything. So is there a fun fight? Is there a veteran fight that they could make? Like Danny said, those two names are, what was it?
Dan Hooker?
Bro.
Nah, man. And
you just want Diaz to get worked.
I don't want to see him get put through a blender like the first fight. Say he comes back when he surprises us and he looks better, then maybe we could talk about some sort of contender fight. But right now, I'm veteran fight maybe, but outside of that, I'm not sure like those sort of title fights or contender fights are what we want to do at this point.
Because these guys are being harsh, man. They're not giving any love to the OG. How about you?
I'm kind of with them. I mean, let's be honest here. We all know that the UFC needs stars, but Nate is a guy that plays by his own rules. And now he's had a taste of freedom, right? So can you imagine how much more difficult he's going to be to deal with after making money outside and boxing and doing what he wants, fighting Jake Paul? You really think he's going to come back and say, yes, sir, I'm going to follow all these rules you got here? That ain't going to happen. I don't even think it'll get to that part. I think he's going to ask for ridiculous things. The UFC is going to say, look, we're just not interested, because you can't really bring him in and put him in against, a lower level guy. It's probably a one and done, which means it's got to be someone like a Conor McGregor or something, but we don't even know where he's at. Imagine trying to route both those guys up. Like it's impossible. And as far as him wanting to fight and win a belt, I mean, high level athletes that are in mixed martial arts, when they take time off, even they have problems readjusting. This guy was boxing. Now he's going to get back into MMA. And like, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think he was just kind of putting a feeler out there, but it's really too hard of a puzzle to solve.
Goes right now, who do you lean towards, McGregor or Diaz if they fight?
If they fight, who wins between the two of them?
Yeah, in 3 months.
Maybe Diaz.
No,
I just don't know what's going on with Conor. At least Diaz was boxing.
I have no idea. I mean, Conor's put on a ton of muscle. He hasn't fought. I don't know. Maybe I would lean with him, but I have absolutely no idea.
Wonder what the lines would be for that. I'll go with McGregor.
Yeah, that ooh, it's a tough one, man. They're both a mess.